What's going on, everyone? So I am back today with some more set 3, but with an old classic this time in Boba Fett. So some of you might already be clicking off the video, might already be fuming. You might be like, oh joy, another Boba Fett video. Well, this one at least has an extremely fun combo in it, but that doesn't mean it's actually worse. It's actually pretty good. And who knew Boba Fett's going to get even better? Well, we kind of assumed. But before we talk about the new 2-card combo and some of the new additions to Boba Yellow, big thank you to my patrons over on Patreon. Thank you for supporting the channel. Thanks for jumping into some games with me. And also, I have a TCG player link in the description below. Be sure to use it for all your Star Wars Unlimited card needs. Let's talk about Boba Yellow and what he gets with set 3. So, of course, we got Boba Fett, classic leader, resource, additions. When you're going in and removing units and getting them off the battlefield, you get some more resources to ready up. But we already know about all the classics. We know about Greedos and Smugglers and Boba Fett's armor and all that stuff. What is new? Well, the first thing is actually the base. Boba Yellow previously was just running a 30 HP base, and it was more of an aggro deck. So you normally didn't care about the fact that you were running a 30 HP base. It's just that you didn't want to run Jeddah City because the -4/-0 is not something that you really wanted to be doing at basically any point in the game. And instead, well, Petronaki Arena does exactly what you want to do. Now your Boba Fett, instead of being a 4/7 at 5 resources, is a 5/7 at 5 resources, which is absolutely absurd. He just does so much with just being a 4/7. The fact that you get an extra power now just makes him that much more threatening and that much more scary. But we also got a few more additions, including, as I mentioned earlier, a new extremely powerful 2-card combo. But it's a little bit interesting because the 2-card combo just involves the card and basically any early play that we have. And that is now there are 2 of them. So this card, 3-cost event, if you control exactly 1 unit, play a non-vehicle unit from your hand that shares a trait with a unit that you control. It costs 5 less. So of course, what can we play with this that's not Fett's Fire Spray, because that's a vehicle unit? Well, we have a bunch of Underworld cards. Every single turn 1 play is an Underworld card. We have 12 of them, right? Crafty Smuggler is Underworld. Greedo is Underworld. Mercenary Gunship is Underworld. And now, instead of playing Viper Probe Droid or anything else, we're playing Ruthless Assassin because it also is an Underworld card. And then, on turn 2, we could play Now There Are 2 of them and immediately drop in Zuckuss. Turn 2 Zuckuss, turn 2 Forlom, which might not seem like a crazy advantage, but just getting a 4-resource play on turn 2 is pretty impactful, just getting that extra stat line. But it even goes further because we actually have some copies of Cad Bane in the deck. And this does happen where, turn 2, you're playing like a Boba Fett, or maybe you're just playing like a Toro, or maybe you're playing whatever it is that you want to play. And then turn 3, you play Now There Are 2 of them. And you're going to go ahead and be able to play, well, unfortunately, not quite Cad Bane, but you can play Now There Are 2 of them and you can get down Zuckuss, Forlom, plus an additional play. Or you can wait till turn 4 when you have 5 resources and play Now There Are 2 of them when you only have 1 unit. And by the way, Boba Fett actually counts. So if you get all your units removed, you deploy Boba Fett, you play Now There Are 2 of them, and suddenly you have a Cad Bane on the battlefield, which is pretty crazy. So it does do some awesome things and allows for some of the most insane curves in the entire game just with this card alone. But in addition to that, as I mentioned earlier, we are playing Cad Bane, which is a really nice tempo finisher in the deck. Just kind of regains board control for maybe a turn or 2, and that's all you needed to close out the game, or just completely remove any option your opponent had to regain board control. And we also have 1 copy of Breaking In, which is just kind of like a surprise strike, the 4th copy, but we also get Saboteur for the attack, which can be relevant in some cases. But let's go to dive into some games and check out the new Boba Yellow. All right, so we're going to be jumping out to Force Table yet again today. I know some people are really excited to see some player games, and I am trying to go ahead and schedule some. It's a little bit tricky for me to get some people on Force Table that, or not Force Table, Tabletop Simulator that care, or rather vice versa, don't care about being recorded. So we'll go ahead and see if we can schedule that. But let's dive into our first match against, well, the Boba Yellow of today. We're just going to see how it directly compares. Of course, it is an AI playing, so that's just something to keep in mind. So we have Now There Are 2 of them, and we have the Forlom, which seems like in a reasonable situation. So I'm actually just going to go ahead and not mulligan this and just go ahead and play my Greedo, play my Now There Are Two of Them, get my Forlom down, and see where we go from there. I'm going to resource one of these Forloms, and probably the Waylay. Yeah, let's go ahead and do so, because Cantina Bouncer is pretty strong here if we do get out that curve that we want. Let's take initiative here. Ooh, what a massive draw. So now here, this is one of the strengths. Now, Boba Yellow does play bounce effects, but it's not guaranteed to have one. So now we just go down. There are two of them. And look at that. Game one, we just get down to Zuckuss on turn 2. Now, they do have the Waylay to bounce the Zuckuss, which is totally fine. Again, we expected that. We went basically card for card in this scenario. They're going to go ahead and attack my Greedo. I'll discard the top card. We don't get to kill their Crafty Smuggler. So at the end of the day, it actually ended up working worse for us than if we had just gone with the normal plan. But here we can just go ahead and play the Forlom and potentially recoup some of our losses. They know we have Zuckuss, so now they have to kill this Forlom if they want to, well, go ahead and not have Zuckuss completely destroy them. And it looks like here they end up having their own Forlom, and we kind of enter in a situation where, well, I guess we all kind of just do our own thing and then end up at parity. But now we get to go ahead and get down Boba Fett himself if we wish to do so, which I think we do. And I'm just going to go ahead and deploy him immediately. There's no reason to really wait. And I'm just going to, I think, attack in. Our opponent could have Boba Fett's armor, so I'm actually just going to attack their Boba Fett, and we'll end up trading Boba Fett's here if they have Boba Fett's armor, which is something that I wanted to make sure that we could have happen. Let's get down the Zuckuss here. They're going to play a Viper Probe droid. We're going to take initiative. They have a Toro plus Viper Probe droid, which is totally fine. We have a Fett's Fire Spray. I'm going to go to resource this Toro because we have a lot of different things kind of going for us right now. And here I am actually just going to attack in with Boba Fett into their base just to get the value going immediately. No, I'm not going to ready up the 2 resources, but they're going to end up hitting Boba Fett anyways. And then we get to go ahead and attack in to probably their Boba Fett and just get rid of that off the battlefield. Then go and hit our base here for 3 with Toro. I am going to just play out the Fett's Fire Spray. They have a Cantina Bouncer. They're going to bounce the Zuckuss, which is totally a fair play as well. They could have bounced the Fett's Fire Spray or the Zuckuss. Either way, pretty reasonable for our opponent. I'm actually going to resource the Zuckuss at this point because we don't really want our opponent to get down all these different things while we're only playing one thing per turn. So we're going to go ahead and attack in with the Fett's Fire Spray to start us off. We're probably going to go Cantina Bouncer here. It looks like they play a Hot Shot Blaster on the Cantina Bouncer. And we are going to just go ahead and play the Cantina Bouncer of our own and bounce the Cantina Bouncer back to their hand, which I know is a little bit odd, but this basically gives us a nice tempo advantage. And then we also get to go ahead and get down the Boba Fett. Boba Fett's armor, going to be the resource here. Cutting looks really nice. Of course, the other Fett's Fire Spray looks pretty nice as well. They go Cantina Bouncer. Probably should have bounced the Fett's Fire Spray because what we can do now is go ahead and play Cunning. And then we exhaust, give +2/+2. Or give +4/+0. Exhaust these 2 units, give +4/+0 to the Fire Spray. Attack in for a nice chunk of 9 damage. And then finish off the game with the Cantina Bouncer. So our opponent definitely didn't play as perfectly as you could with Boba Yellow. Let's dive into another matchup, but this time with Sabine Green. Once again, the Petronaki Arena didn't really do anything too crazy. The Now There Are Two of Them didn't do anything too crazy in that first match because it's not really the match where you see some amazing strengths of that card. But this is a match where if we do get down on turn 2 Zuckuss, it can completely change the game. But we have a pretty standard hand. I'm going to go and resource the Boba Fett and actually the Zuckuss here because I'd rather have a 2/3/4 with Cunning rather than just playing out the Zuckuss here. So we're going to go and deal 2 damage to our Ruthless Assassin, just get that down, and we're going to take initiative. They have an Alliance X-Wing, and we have a Waylay. I'm going to resource this Mercenary Gunship. I'm going to attack first with the Ruthless Assassin, and they have a For a Cause here. So Going to just hit us for 4, and then I'm going to play out the Toro. We're going to take initiative here, deal some damage to us. And then we got No Good to Me Dead, which is an excellent card. We can actually go Cunning or a Waylay plus No Good to Me Dead. We can also we can go ahead and yeah, I think we just go Waylay plus No Good to Me Dead. So let's bounce the X-Wing. They have a K2SO. They're going to ECL out, hit our Ruthless Assassin. They're going to hit us for 3. We are going to attack into probably the K2 just to get rid of him, get him off the battlefield here. They're going to deal 1 damage to each of us. I'm going to pass here. And then I'm going to go ahead and play No Good to Me Dead on Sabine. And then we're going to pass yet again. So now we got ourselves Mercenary Gunship and Ruthless Assassin. Ruthless Assassin's pretty bad here. Disabling Fang Fighter comes down. I am going to attack into their base for 3. And then, Cunning here, huh? Or X-Wing here. So I can go Cunning. I can pump up Toro. And then bounce the Disabling Fang Fighter. And if I do that, then I'll get 1 resource back, ready BOBA, kill Sabine or attack their base for 5, and then attack their base again with Toro. Because I can play a Forlom. Yeah, so let's go ahead and go Cunning, +4/+0, return, give +4/+0 to the Toro, exhaust BOBA, ready up a resource. Let's go ahead and use BOBA's action. Let's attack in to their base for 5. I think I can ignore Sabine at this point. Let's ready up 2 resources. We then get to play the Forlom. I'll go ahead and deal damage to the Forlom. I will go ahead and ambush here just to hit Sabine for 4. Not that it would really matter. But we did get to ready up a Toro, so we can hit their base for another 7. And now we have multiple lethal threats in Boba Fett and Forlom. And I don't really see anything that our opponent can do at this stage of the game to come back. And I mean, there's a lot of different things, but Boba Fett just straight up kills Sabine in 1 shot now, which is really nice. But yeah, that was pretty sweet. Absolutely dominating Sabine, which isn't too crazy because this is already a pretty good matchup from set 2. This is a mulligan hand, no turn 1 play. Again, we have 12 of them. I'm hoping to see some sort of... Okay, let's resource the Fett's Fire Spray, and then now there are 2 of them. I'm hoping to see some sort of really nice, now there are 2 of them, play either with playing a Forlom or a Zuckuss. Like right here, if we were to play a Forlom here, we would kill their Battlefield Marine, which would be absolutely amazing. But we just get to play Toro, which is fine. I'm going to go and resource the Breaking In. I'm actually going to go ahead and play a little bit more defensive here by attacking into their Battlefield Marine and just killing it so we don't take too much damage. Don't need to discard a card. They're going to play a 4 cause. Not something that I'm super worried about on turn 2. We get down a Toro. They're going to deal 1 damage to each of us, and we're going to take initiative. So now we have there are 2 of them potentially for us, but we drew Cunning plus Boba Fett's armor, so not necessarily something that is really going to be too crazy for us in terms of, you know, getting something down. Like now there are 2 of them, something out big, and we can go ahead and mess up our opponent. They're going to go ahead and deploy Sabine. I figured we passed because our opponent can't really afford to go ahead and do nothing this turn. So it's going to give +4/+0 and exhaust the Sabine. They're going to go to get down a Sabine, and then we can go ahead and attack into their Sabine here, their leader Sabine, that is. Going to go and exhaust Boba to ready up a resource, but it doesn't really matter. All we really wanted to do was get rid of that Sabine leader with our Cunning. And now we get to go ahead and... Do you want to play Cunning here? I can play Cunning, which is pretty nice. I can bounce the X-Wing or the Sabine Wren, give +4/+0 to this Toro. And then what can I do? I ready up a resource, and then I ready up 2 more with Boba Fett. So then I can go ahead and put his armor on. It's not too crazy. I think what I'll do is instead just attack into their Sabine. Just get it off the battlefield. They can heroic sacrifice in for 4. Not exactly that amazing of a play, but now we get to go ahead and deploy BOBA. They have a Sundari Peacekeeper. They're going to ECL out, kill their Toro, or our Toro rather. Now we get to go ahead and play Boba Fett's armor. And then attack in with Surprise Strike for a massive 10 damage into the base. We get to ready up 2 resources. And then we get to pass. So now Boba Fett's armor is on Boba Fett. And that's going to make it so it is really tough for them to get through. If they were to wrecker something out, they could still kill Boba Fett. But hopefully that doesn't necessarily happen. Let's go ahead and just... Do I want to attack here? So I can play Waylay, but I won't be able to play Fett's Fire Spray here. So I'll just attack into their base for a nice chunk of 7 damage. They're going to deal 1 damage to each of us. We could play the Fett's Fire Spray at this point. They're going to go ahead and get down Poe-Dameron. And then we're going to attack in for a nice chunk of 5. And now we have 2 lethal threats yet again. Bunch of events in our hand. They're going to get down a Sabine. Doesn't really matter because they couldn't kill Boba Fett with the Poe-Dameron if they had attack it. So yet another game where we just kind of walked all over them. It wasn't really a big competition. Let's jump into boss screen. Again, these are AI battles. I don't dismiss that. But still, really nice showing from Boba Yellow. I really like the Petronaki Arena. Just that extra power ends up being really nice. And, well, that now there are 2 of them. Hasn't really shown its true colors yet because we ended up drawing a little bit awkwardly for the Sabine game and then against the Boba Fett player. That's where you want to kind of sideboard out that now there are 2 of them. We're going to resource one of these Zuckai, maybe 2 of these Zuckai actually. And then just go ahead and get down the Ruthless Assassin here against Bosk. It's a reasonable hand, nothing too crazy. Ruthless Assassin is not that great against Bosk. As you can see, they can just kill it to draw 2 cards. We're going to go ahead and resource probably this Waylay, because I think we have a game plan of going Toro, Forlom, Cantina Bouncer. They're going to open fire our Toro just to use up their resources. We're going to take initiative. Ooh. Now there are 2 of them is coming out, but I don't know if we're really going to be using the resource cost reduction here in this spot. So we're just going to go ahead and attack their base for 3 with Toro. They're going to play a Dengar. We are going to play out a Forlom, get the ambush, and I will deal 1 damage to Forlom just so that I can ready up Toro yet again, get in an extra 3 points of damage. And we can ready up a resource even though we don't have anything to play. They have a Super Technician. They're going to go to an ECL out to kill the Toro. Okay, makes reasonable sense to me. They're going to get down their Bosk. They're going to go and hit our base for 4. And now, next turn, what do we got? We have a No Good To Me Den, a Breaking In. I'm going to resource this Ruthless Assassin. And I'm actually just going to play the Breaking In and kill Bosk. So now we trade, get to ready up a resource. They go Ruthless Raider. We play out Boba Fett. And this is where the 5 power really starts to matter, because now we just start to smack them for an extra point of damage. And now we do the Boba Yellow things, get to ready a resource, get to bounce their only play that turn, and just we are massively ahead now, because now we can start getting down Fett's Fire Spray and really make a ton of trouble for our opponent. They do have the Maul, which is a perfect answer to the Boba Fett. Maul's at 5 damage here. They don't really have anything else to play, so now we just get down the Fett's Fire Spray, ready up the Fett's Fire Spray, and smack them for 5. We'll pass. We end up drawing Boba Fett's armor, which we can go on a resource, Forlom, and the No Good To Me Dead. Ooh, look at that. They go for the Overwhelming Barrage. I'm actually going to just attack their base for 3 here. If they decided to hit the Cantina Bouncer, that's fine, which they did not, which I think is a mistake, because we used to go Toro here. We get to play a Forlom. Deal 1 damage to the Forlom. No ambush. They're going to deal another damage to the Cantina Bouncer. We're going to go ahead and attack in their base for 3. I think you're kind of forced to go ahead and kill the Cantina Bouncer, because now we have 3 different lethal threats on the battlefield, and they don't really have any option unless they have like another Overwhelming Barrage to completely wipe us out here across the board. But no, Toro going to finish off the game here. And pretty good stuff. The Boba Fett getting an extra point of damage in actually was pretty relevant here. Again, if our opponent played perfectly, then we would have had the Cantina Bouncer gone, and the Maul would have been able to kill the other unit that was not readied. And then if they had another Maul, which they did, they could have played that other Maul, killed the Toro. They could have done a couple different things here. They could have played the Ruthless Raider. It might have been in a spot where they're so close to dead that we probably would have still won, but just something to keep in mind. Let's go ahead and try that again against Boss Green. See what we got here. All right. We got no turn one. Oh, we do have a turn one play. All right. It's time to shine. It's time to shine, my good old friend Mercenary Gunship. We go Mercenary Gunship. Now there are two of them into a Zuckuss. Turn 2. Let's go ahead and resource this Crafty Smuggler. They're going to attack our base for 3. Pretty standard play. We go now there are 2 of them. And now there are 2 of them. And one of them is a Zuckuss. And yes, they have a Force Choke. It doesn't actually kill the Zuckuss, which is really sweet. So yes, they did go ahead and have Force Choke for our Zuckuss. But still, we are in an amazing spot because of it. Let's go to resource the now there are 2 of them. We've kind of used it for the initial play. They're going to go ahead and kill the Zuckuss, which makes a lot of sense here. We go ahead and attack in with the Mercenary Gunship. They're going to steal our Mercenary Gunship, which I think I'll just go ahead and steal it back. I don't really see a reason to do anything else. Boba Fett's armor. Let's resource the 7th Fleet Defender. Boba Fett's armor looks pretty good here in this spot. Okay, they're going to go ahead and play or steal my Mercenary Gunship. But what I can do here is actually just play out the Cantina Bouncer, ready up a resource, play Greedo, attack with Boba Fett, and then get down Boba Fett's armor as well. Or I can go ahead and play or ready up Boba Fett, surprise strike, kill their Bosk. And then, well, that doesn't quite ready up the resources. So I think we'll just go with the initial play of playing Cantina Bouncer, bouncing the Mercenary Gunship, exhaust Boba Fett to ready up a resource. They're going to get down a Bosk. We're going to go ahead and play Greedo here. They're going to put Bounty Hunter's Quarry, huh? Ooh, okay. That's pretty good. That's pretty good for them. They're going to kill the Greedo. They're going to double claim. They get a Dengar and a Super Laser Technician. We managed to get a surprise strike off of that hit, so that's really, really nice. And then now we get to go ahead and, attack into their Bosk just to get rid of it off the battlefield. Not to mention, we're going to be able to play this Boba Fett's armor to really help keep our Boba Fett, our Boba Fett alive, which is really nice. They got a Kylo Ren. They're going to ECL out. They're going to go ahead and actually get their Kylo Ren killed because they're going to give +2 to the Super Laser Technician. And just to keep in mind, if we did not have Boba Fett's or the Petronaki Arena, Kylo Ren would not die there. So that's a huge difference. Just that one extra power can make all the difference in a lot of these games. Let's go ahead and play out the Forlom. Let's go ahead and play out the Mercenary Gunship. And we'll pass. So now we have pretty much an unstoppable board. End up having a Zuckuss now as well. They can go ahead and steal the Mercenary Gunship. I don't really care about that, to be honest. Heck, I could even steal it back, but we have the Fett's Fire Spray, so I think it's actually just better to go ahead and play that. Let's go ahead and attack in with the Cantina Bouncer. They're going to Force Choke kill our Forlom. We're going to go ahead and play out the Zuckuss. Oh, I don't know why I played out this. I meant to play out the Fett's Fire Spray. That's okay. That's okay. We're just going to go ahead and pass here and see what ends up happening. They're going to play Ruthless Raider, and now we're going to go ahead and attack in with either one of our options here and finish off the game. So yet another one where we ended up winning. Now there are 2 of them just pulls so many resources from our opponent. We just get to cheat on resources, which is a huge advantage when you're playing these tempo decks. And you saw there, they had to Force Choke it, and then they had to use their unit to kill it. So 2 cards. And in the early game, that is the type of thing that can really put you in the lead. And you saw there was just kind of game over after that happened. Let's go ahead and dive into another game. Let's go ahead and play against the Ahsoka deck. I don't think these ones are going to have even close to a chance, but I suppose we will see. We're not going to mulligan this one. Seems like a pretty reasonable hand. I actually don't mind the Greedo in our hand. I'm going to play our resource, the 7th Fleet, and the Breaking In. Because we're going to start off with a Crafty Smuggler. If I end up trading with something, they're going to take initiative. We can go Toro plus Greedo. Let's resource this Surprise Strike. Again, I'd rather have kind of the unit curve. They're going to bounce the Crafty Smuggler. We're going to play out a Toro. And they're going to take initiative. Cool thing. Cool thing. Let's resource this Ruthless Assassin. They have a Millennium Falcon here. We're going to attack with Toro. And now we're going to start setting up a massive next turn. We'll deal 1 damage to the Forlon to ready up the Toro yet again. And I'm just going to attack it with Toro. I know that Forlon now dies to Greedo, but that is okay if that is what they decide to do. We've got a lot of different options. We have the Cunning. Looks like they're going to get down an Ahsoka here, which is totally fine because we'll just go ahead and drop in a Zuckuss. Go ahead and, yeah, we could deal 1 damage to it. It doesn't really matter, I suppose, because they're going to go ahead and kill off. Actually, I shouldn't have dealt 1 damage, but because they could kill off the Forlom with Greedo. And if I hadn't dealt 1 damage, then Zuckuss would have lived and Forlom would have. I was joking. I was kind of like, whatever. We'll just deal 1 damage because it doesn't matter. But it actually does matter because it actually kills the Zuckuss. Because Ahsoka is actually a 6/6 with the Petronaki Arena. So little Petronaki Arena math doing a disservice for me there. Go ahead and kill the Greedo there. Get rid of it. Attack him with the Forlom. They have an L3, which is totally fine because now we're going to deploy our leader. And we get to attack in and hit their base. Ready up a couple resources. Get down a Greedo and get down a Crafty Smuggler. And I mean, which one's the Coordinate deck again? Now there are 2 of them. Definitely not going to be a card that we're interested in at this point because we have approximately 1 million cards on the battlefield. But we can go ahead and play out the Cunning here. So we can exhaust 2 units, give +4/+0. So we'll exhaust the L3, exhaust, give +4/+0 to Boba Fett. Attack in with Boba Fett for a whopping 9 points of damage. And then finish it off with whatever unit we choose with the Crafty Smuggler. Pretty sweet, pretty sweet. Let's try that one more time. Except this time, let's run up against, let's try a Rex. Let's try Rex here. Now there are 2 of them. Getting down to such an early massive unit like that is so sweet. And look at this. No mulligan here. Let's resource the Surprise Strike and one of the now there are 2 of them. They're going to go and get down a Coruscant Guard. We get to go and play Ruthless Assassin. And then we'll pass. Got ourselves a Toro, which we can go and resource this Ruthless Assassin because we can get down Toro if they end up killing the Ruthless Assassin. But if they don't, we just, now there are 2 of them and suddenly you have a Zuckuss on turn 2. Again, 2 resource cost reduction on this guy is absolutely crazy. So let's go ahead and take initiative here. We've got ourselves a Forlom, and oh my gosh, look at this. You don't really see this every day, but we are going to attack into their base for 6. Just get in the damage immediately, see if they decide to do anything strange. But now we get to play Forlom, and he ambushes. I know we could have gotten extra damage off of Zuckuss, but I was curious to see if our opponent would have tried to attack the Zuckuss. Not normal that you get to see Zuckuss first and then Forlom ambushing as a higher power unit, but pretty sweet stuff. That's the Boba Fett's armor, and now we can go double Cunning, which is pretty sweet as well. We're going to go Cunning. I'm going to go ahead and give +4/+0 and return. We're going to give +4/+0 to Zuckuss. Return the Huyang. Ready up a resource. They're going to replay the Huyang, which is totally fine because I think what I would like to do is, well, kill off the Huyang. And now their Coruscant Guard isn't really going to be able to kill us or attack us for too much damage. And now what we can do is ready up Boba Fett. Attack into their base for 5 points of damage. Ready up an additional 2 resources. They're going to attack Forlom, which is totally fine because we are going to play a Cunning. And we're going to return +4/+0. We can go on and return any one of these units realistically. I think the Clone Trooper token, I suppose, is just a free value piece. And now we're going to smack in for a whopping 14 damage and end the game. Oh my gosh. That was just not okay. Now, that was one of the best draws that we could have, right? Turn 1, Underworld unit. Turn 2, Zuckuss. And then play some nonsense. When Boba Fett comes down, we have the double cunning turn. And you just get to smack in for, well, 14 on one attack. And mind you, that's with me using my Forlom attack on some random unit and not their base. Because we could have dealt 30 damage to them or after that. In total, that one turn, we've dealt 14 with Zuckuss, 5 with Boba Fett, another 5 with the Forlom because of the Zuckuss pump. If they did not kill the Forlom, we literally would have dealt 25 damage in a single turn. A single turn. Mind you, we could have gotten in some damage with the Ruthless Assassin, etc. But that is absolutely crazy. Like, that is one of the high potentials of the deck because you get down such an early Zuckuss and it's reliable, right? There's not many decks that can just straight up kill a Zuckuss. And you might be thinking, well, we'll talk more about this as we wrap up the deck because there's a lot of thoughts I have on this, but it ended up being pretty sweet regardless through some of the games that we've played so far. Let's dive into the Anakin Red deck as our last matchup just for a fun little game here. Not going to mulligan this hand. This is a perfectly reasonable hand. Let's go ahead and resource the Fett's Fire Spray and the Surprise Strike, actually. They're going to play a Bo-Katan. We are going to play our Mercenary Gunship, and then we're going to pass here. Get ourselves another Surprise Strike and a Boba Fett. I'm going to go and resource that Waylay. I don't think I'm really super interested in the Waylay at this point. Let's go ahead and attack in for 3. I know our opponent can get in for a total of 7 damage and then 7 the next turn, but I think we are by far in a situation where we don't really care about the damage because we deploy so early. Let's resource the 7th Fleet Defender. If they decide to hit our base for 7, we get the free trade in with the Boba Fett. So that ends up being pretty nice. And now what we can do is play Toro here to start us off. They're going to steal our Mercenary Gunship. We're going to attack into their Bo-Katan, finish it off. Exhaust, ready up a resource. They're going to go ahead and attack in for 3. We're going to play out the Crafty Smuggler. I mean, look at this. Anakin did some major damage to us. I'm not going to lie, guys. That was pretty fun to see. They're going to attack in for 3 yet again. I think in this spot, I'm just going to use the Boba Fett to ready up. They're going to ready up Mercenary Gunship. We're going to just steal the Mercenary Gunship. Now we get to start attacking. We just attack. We just attack. And attack. And attack. And then smack again. Now, Anakin's going to be pretty beefy, but we do have a Surprise Strike to basically kill him with the Boba Fett, which is going to be pretty nice. And now that we've drawn this Cunning, I don't really see a way that we could lose the game because we can always just exhaust Anakin, which is what we're going to do. We're going to play Cunning. We're going to give +4/+0 and exhaust. So we're going to give +4/+0 to the Boba Fett and then exhaust Annie twice. There comes Cassian. We could have exhausted the Mercenary Gunship, but it's only going to deal 3 damage to us. Any red doesn't usually play things that are going to pump them up immediately for that one attack, with the exception of Twice the Pride. So they don't have to have that specific card. But this allows us to now just go ahead and smack in for a whopping 9 points of damage and then finish it off with a Crafty Smuggler. To be honest, Anakin with the Twice the Pride on Bo-Katan here, I did not necessarily expect that. That's where Waylay would have been pretty nice. But again, I mean, Anakin, they can have some pretty aggressive starts. And of course, if we did draw that Cunning, we would have had a Surprise Strike in with Boba Fett, and that would have caused a little bit of trouble. Granted, if they did steal the Mercenary Gunship, we could have gone and steal it back. So that's not going to be too big of a deal. But yeah, that was a pretty sweet game against Anakin. What did we learn from new Boba? Well, let's talk about it. So what did we learn from Boba Yellow? Well, there's one thing that we didn't get to see, and that was Cad Bane. Unfortunately, on basically every program, not all the set 3 cards are there quite yet. Most of them, in fact, like 95% of them are on Force Table. Cad Bane is one of those that is not. at the moment. So we didn't actually get to draw into Cad Bane at any moment and really get to see him shine. But I have played this deck against some people on Tabletop Simulator, and Cad Bane is absolutely amazing. He's a great tempo play for the decks like BOBA Yellow, where all you need is to get like one more or like 1.5 more turns out of your deck in order to finish off the game. And Cad Bane is perfect at that. He's also a 7/7, and you can get him down earlier with now there are 2 of them. But that, alongside Petronaki Arena, are the 2 major contributors from set 3. Now there are 2 of them is absolutely insane. And I don't think this is just limited to BOBA Yellow, but I do think BOBA Yellow is one of the decks that benefits one of, well, the most. There are a lot of different decks you can run, right? You could run Republic decks and then get down like an Ayla Sakura or things like that on turn 2, or turn 2 with now there are 2 of them if you're playing like green yellow, for example. But Boba Fett just kind of curves in directly how you normally would, right? There are no changes to the deck. You're playing Crafty Smugglers, Greedos, Mercenary Gunships in your normal BOBA Yellow decks. The only, I guess, difference is Ruthless Assassin, because he's an Underworld card and he matches the traits of Forlom and Zuckuss. But you don't even necessarily need to play Ruthless Assassin. There are some other options out there. It's just a matter of this card getting down like even a Forlom on turn 2 and killing like a Sabine's, Fighters for Freedom or Battlefield Marine, right? If you go turn 1, Crafty Smuggler, take initiative, after they play Battlefield Marine, you go, now there are 2 of them, play Forlom, kill your Battlefield Marine. The game is basically over for Sabine. That's what it feels like anyways. It fits in the deck so well. And that's really the major addition, alongside, as I mentioned earlier, the Petronaki Arena. And that is also a huge addition. That 1 extra power does change the math on a lot of different things. It just makes things like, for example, Sabine Leader to be able to get killed in 1 hit. It makes things like Kanan be able to get killed in 1 hit. These things do pop up very frequently. It also just gives you an extra power to go to base. And one thing that you have to remember is when you're playing certain decks that are more aggressively slanted, this is the same thing with Sabine, the 4 loss of HP on a base is basically negligible in most matchups. The only matchup that this might come into play is, well, like a Sabine matchup where they're trying to rush you down. But if you're in the BOBA Yellow mirror, I oftentimes enjoy the extra power because there are things like Cantina Bouncer and Toro that you can now one-shot, and Boba Fett units that you can now one-shot with your Boba Fett leader because +1/+0. So in that matchup, I find the extra power end up being pretty nice. And it's just a matter of, okay, if I do have, this Petronaki Arena, in what matchups am I going to feel the 4 less HP? Heck, I don't really. I just find the extra power to be a little bit more valuable. Now, one thing that there is to mention is we're not getting a whole lot from set 3, just a few cards here and there to pump up the already existing decks. And that's something that you'll keep noting for any deck, really. There hasn't been a deck that I've been sitting down and been like, oh yeah, this is all set 3. Most of the earlier set 1 and set 2 decks have a few cards here and there that maybe you could drop in the decks and maybe make slightly better. But of course, we'll have to wait and see for the complete meta and for everyone to start testing more and more and more, because there's only one person in terms of my testing. Well, not quite one person, because I get to talk with all my patrons over on Patreon, and in the Discord, we get to share some thoughts and such. So I always get some ideas from them and share some of my ideas. But there certainly is going to be way more people testing out the cards as we go deeper, and that might change. But that's been my experience initially with some of the earlier leaders. So thanks for watching, everyone. Hopefully you enjoyed, and I'll see you all for the next one.